This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Now, I always say it's a pleasure, but really is a pleasure again. They kicked us out of the venue, but Steve Bunce, you've waited around for me outside. There's a Southern Van Lines van to one side and Pizza Express to another. How are we, mate?
We're good. We're in Dublin for a big fight. It's a massive fight. It's a sellout. Bouncing from Guadalajara to this, they're bouncing from this to wherever you're going on the 27th. What a few weeks. I mean, you can't, I'll let you know that anyone that tells you about the old days, we never had weekends like this in the old days, back to back like this. Trust me, because I was there. I was part of the old days.
Do you get sort of, when people always talk about sort of the old days and how things have changed, etc., obviously we're in a new age of media, do you mind it all?
No, because it's bigger and better now. I mean, okay, so there were great fighters. There's always, every decade, in the last 12, 15 decades, there's been great fighters. But right now we've got as many great fighters as we've ever had. You can parachute them back in time. You know, you pick up Tyson Fury, you can catapult him back into any decade in global boxing history, British boxing history. You could catapult back just about every fighter we've got at every weight, all of our top fighters. Who couldn't you catapult back? Sure, you know, you catapult back Sonny Edwards and he lands on Charlie Magri's lap. It's going to be a great fight. That's no problem. You catapult back, I don't know, let's say Joshua Buatsi, and he lands on John Conte's lap. I'm not saying John Conte isn't going to knock him out. The bottom line is you can still catapult him back. Yeah, and so, I despair sometimes, Charlie, and I've told you this before, when I hear people above the age of 50 and 55 talking about how boxing, it's not the same now. In the old days, they used to fight each other. Did they used to fight each other? It's the same as it is now. There was just less things to hide behind then, i.e., now there's a lot more media scrutiny than there ever was then. It doesn't mean I think the media coverage now is better. It's different. It's different.
Do you mind the coverage now?
I never mind the coverage. What I resent is the suggestion that the blanket coverage is better than the old coverage. What there needs to be is a middle ground. So you have a fight like this here, where, how can we have a fight like this with Chantel Cameron, all those titles, undefeated, Katie Taylor, mostly fighting in Britain on a British television channel. How can we have a fight like that here and have so few members of the traditional British media? That is a disgrace. It's all very well the old guard moaning and screaming about the so-called YouTubers, but if there weren't the YouTubers here, it'd be me on my own writing for the Independent, and me on my own writing for the Independent and doing 5 Live. I mean, that's literally it. It would be me. I can't see. Where's the other 10? I've been at fights in Dublin when there's been 20 of us. We've all flown over together. 20 members of the media. Guy from 5 Live and guys from 12 other papers. And I'm here. Just I look at it and I despair. So no, I don't mind the modern media. I don't mind the modern media. What I do mind is I mind both the old timers saying the modern media are rubbish, and I hate and I dislike the modern media calling everybody who can read and write and put pen to paper a dinosaur. That's so there's a bit
of middle ground.
There's a bit of middle ground. I mean, we can work. People can work together, and it benefits everybody.
Steve, I've got to ask you, Tyson Fury's gone on a bit of a social media rampage in the last 24 hours. Now, we know with Tyson, not always active on social media, sort of picks his moments. What do you make of it all? He said that he wants to, throw the contract back at Bob Arum and sort of stuff like that.
And he's given Frank Warren an ultimatum, I think, to get him a fight by July and August. He did, of course, the same type of stuff last year, maybe without the Bob Arum threats last year. What I found interesting, and maybe you could stand this up for me, Charlie, but looking at my timeline on Twitter, I'm seeing the amount of views and retweets, and they seem really low compared to previous Tyson Fury 24-hour rants. You think going back, the first time he started talking about Usyk as a gap-toothed middleweight, those were big spikes. And I'm looking at those figures yesterday. For instance, I took a picture of a pint of Guinness in one of Dublin's oldest pubs, and that got close to the same amount of views as Tyson Fury talking about ripping out John Jones's heart. Now, that's rubbish. I've got a still picture of a pint of beer, and there's the best heavyweight in the world talking about arguably the greatest UFC fighter in history, and it's only getting a little bit more than my picture. Come on, how's that working?
Is there the argument that people are finding it a little bit repetitive?
I think the argument is grounded, is valid, that people are going, oh, not again. Okay, let's just sign the fight, And of course, Usyk's people put out brilliant replies. They're funny, but they put out brilliant replies. And Tyson's screaming and shouting and swearing, and Usyk's people come up with something. Greedy Belly's just a brilliant. I mean, it just sounds like a character from a fairy tale.
It does.
And so
the language barrier almost helps, doesn't it?
Well, listen, they're smart men. The language barrier when they write is not that much of a barrier. Sometimes if you're talking to them fast and you want an instant answer, they have to think about it. I'd like to see what everyone would like to see in the boxing business. Tyson back in the ring, preferably against Usyk. But I'm standing here now. We're in what, mid-May. I can't see that happening until the late winter. If in theory this Saudi Arabian $400 million gig's going to happen.
Well, lastly, I don't want to keep you for too long. This Saudi Arabian sort of 2 fights in one night, it would certainly be anything. I imagine you would have never seen anything like it, and that's saying something given sort of how long you've been involved in this sport through the highs and the lows. I know that there is a close working relationship with each party. We're unsure about the relationship with the Furies, but in terms of Team Usyk, Team AJ and Team Wilder, it seems like it's there. Hopeful?
Yeah, well, I mean, my understanding is that enough people in the Fury business are talking to different people. Not everybody in all 4 camps talks to everybody else in all 4 camps, but there are people in each camp that do talk to people in each camp. It's not like one of those camps is an island isolated, full of people, full of diseased people. No, there is communication between the 4. I mean, I think we all know the problem. Despite what everyone says, it seems to be it's Fury. If Fury wants to make the fight happen and everyone wants to see sense, then perhaps the other fight will fall into place. It's still a massive if. Let's get it right. And also, we're now midway through May. We're talking about a fight that might not take place for another 6 and a bit months. And you think about the last 5.5 months we've had.
Incredible.
So the last 5.5 months we've had, we'll have another 5.5 months like that.
I know.
Hey, the heavies have got to fight. And the big boys have got to fight. It's that simple.
Steve, look, I know I said lastly, you made a good point there. And I think also Tyson Fury's come out and sort of where Joe Rogan's criticised him, etc. Not that you're criticising him, but I think the argument that people are getting a little bit tired of this charade is maybe fair enough. I know it shouldn't be like this, but is there a worry in you even voicing comments like that then you end up getting the same sort of backlash of Tyson himself?
Because it's not criticism. It's saying what we all know. Tyson knows he wants to fight. He's got to get back in the ring, and I think everyone knows he's got to stop telling us he's got to do it. What? We don't want to know. We just get the thing done. Show us a sign. You speak to Frank Warren. He doesn't want it being played out on social media. You talk to Bob Arum. He doesn't want it being played out on social media. You talk to Eddie Hearn. He doesn't want it being played out on social media. You talk to Krasuk and Aegis. They don't want it being played out on social media. They want it done, announced, press conference, training camp, first bell. That's what they want. Not criticism. It's just straightforward observation. We've all had enough. We want to see some fights.
Steve, as always, thank you very much for your time, my good friend.